Hey guys, I'm Kunal.
I'm Shraddha.
We are back. I know that we've pretty much been off the grid after posting our first video, but we are just going through the comments in the first video, and you guys had so many questions, and some of you had posted lovely comments on the first video as well. So we thought that it was pretty much time for us to make another video. Dedicated to your questions and all the concerns that you guys had about how students live in New York City.
We basically realized that all of the questions that were coming were very different, and each topic was very unrelated from the other. So we probably cannot cover all the topics in this particular video. So we are going to make like a series of videos covering each of the topic that we've come across in the comment section. So this particular video will be about jobs. After we made the first video, Kunal graduated first, and after that I graduated. So Kunal graduated in 20.
Yeah, I graduated in 2019.
And I graduated last year in 2020. And
both in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, and both of us had like really different experiences rather with graduating. So we thought it'd be nice to kind of cover how it was, to find a job as an international student, and what are the different things that you could do to not find a job, but basically to keep yourself sane
throughout the whole process. So because this entire process is very time consuming, and it's also mentally exhausting, so we thought to share some of the things that worked for us and might work for you guys as well. So the first part of the video is about visas and the types of visas you'll be on while studying at any of your university in United States of America.
And this particular part is important because when we move to the next part, which is like graduation, job hunt, we'll use a lot of these terms like STEM, OPT, CBT, and we don't want to confuse you guys. So
the first type of visa that you will be on when you come to United States for education will be called an F1 visa, and this is the visa that gets stamped onto your passport right after your interview at US Embassy in your home country. This visa is valid up to 5 years, but actually it's only valid up to your graduation date. It might say on the passport that it's valid for a period of up to 5 years, but it will only be valid up to your graduation date. This visa basically allows you to work on campus for a maximum of 20 hours per week
during the school year. That is, in summer you can work on campus for 40 hours.
And if there's a spring break or a holiday break, then it allows you to, or winter break, then it allows you to work for 40 hours per week.
Up to 40 hours.
For a maximum of 40 hours per week on that visa.
So on F1 visa, you are allowed to work on campus for 20 hours, like Kunal said, during the semester, and you can work only on campus with this visa. That is very important information. You cannot work off campus on F1, but however, you can work off campus with F1 CPT. So now what is F1 CPT?
So F1 CPT basically lets you work for a company as an intern,
So basically outside of your campus.
Outside your campus. So if you have a couple of years left on your education, or if you have your summer break or a winter break, then you can take up an internship with any company that is willing to hire you on an F1 CPT visa.
But CPT is basically when you are still in school and you want to work. So that is CPT. Then moving to what happens when you graduate, what visa are you on then? That is F1 OPT.
So STEM students have, so let's say you're a student who's graduating in May 2021. Your F1 OPT will basically cover the period from your graduation date to another 365 days. That is, it gives you the ability to work in United States without anyone sponsoring your visa for a maximum of 1 year. And beyond that, if you are graduating from a STEM degree, that is any degree in science, technology, engineering and math, you will be allowed to work for an addition of 2 years after your graduation. So you'll have basically 3 years of
non-visa probably.
Of non-sponsored
visa. That is
important. So basically after graduation you will have 3 years of non-sponsored visa if you are a student graduating from a STEM background. But for someone like Shraddha, she did not graduate from a STEM background. She pursued a master's degree in marketing. So she only had 1 year of OPT.
after my graduation. So STEM get 3 years OPT, 3 years on their OPT, and non-STEM get only 1 year. I think so far this so much information is enough. Otherwise, you guys will get overwhelmed because there's a lot of other information coming your way. But if you have any other questions regarding visas, you can leave comments for us, and we will get back to you in the comment section.
So there's also an important thing that I need to mention is the F1 OPT card, or it's also called as the Employment Authorization Card, that you will receive right after graduation. And it's something that every university requires the students to submit a petition to USCIS to.
And this, if you only have to do, of course, if you want to stay in the US after your graduation. If you don't want to stay, you don't have to do this.
So the caveat of this OPT card is that they will ask you to enter a start date on that card, which is supposed to be occurring after your graduation. So if someone is graduating on 20th May of any particular year, the start date has to be after
graduation date.
After that graduation date, it cannot be before that. And after that start date, that card is valid for a maximum of 1 year, after which you can renew it. And if you are a student from STEM OPT, as I mentioned, you will get an extension of 2 years. If you are non-STEM, you won't get an extension.
You will have to look for an employer who is ready to sponsor H1B for you. Basically.
You will be asked to enter the start date on that OPT card, which is supposed to occur right after your graduation date. And you are supposed to find a job basically within 90 days of that start date. So if your start date on your OPT card is 25th May 2020, then you will have to find a job by August 2020, by 25th August 2020.
So 90 days, exactly 90 days is the time you have to find any employer.
Yeah. So let's start with my story. I was pursuing a master's degree in computer science at NYU, and I graduated in 2019. So job search was pretty difficult, I would say, for me. I started looking for a job, I would say, more than a couple of months before graduation, because I was interning at a company in my spring semester, which was my last semester before graduation. And I was also looking for a full-time job while I was working at my internship. So I had my classes. I was doing a spring internship.
A full-time internship, which is 40 hours internship.
Yeah. So I was doing a full-time internship. I had a couple of classes as well in my last semester, and I was also looking for a full-time job in that time. So the last semester is usually pretty light, course load
Only
wise. Only, but for me it was not the case, because I was doing a 40-hour. I was working as a full-time intern basically, so I had to devote all of my time to that.
Also, remember we said in the video, in the part before that, in the last semester you also apply for your EAD. So Kunal was also applying for his EAD documents in that time. So it's pretty hectic in the last semester.
Yeah, and in that period of time, you also get a lot of interviews. And as a computer science student, so there are a couple of stages in the interviewing process. You have your coding test, which is basically an automated system that a lot of companies send you. So right after hitting the submit button of your application, if you qualify for the job, basically you will get an automated coding test that you have to submit within a stipulated amount of time. So mostly it's about 4 or 5 days from the time you get that email, but it's a stipulated amount of time, and you have to give that test within that. So that semester was pretty hectic.
How many places did you apply?
How many times did I hit the submit button?
Yeah, how many did you submit?
I would say more than 3,000.
3,000 applications.
Yeah.
You have, and it's not something which is a shocking number. You will ask any other graduate, they'll also probably give you an average, because everyone keeps applying. As soon as they hit the graduation year, people just start applying. For some people it could be different. Some people could be lucky to get jobs before graduation. but this is pretty common that you have to apply a lot.
Throughout that time, there's a lot of peer pressure as well. I would say, firstly, throughout this whole process, try to not compare your path with others. Some people might be lucky or fortunate to get a job right after graduation, as soon as they graduate. Some people may not have to go that deep into the interview, that deep into the whole job search process as well. And also, one more thing that we did not mention was the fact that your employers are also looking for people who do not need to be sponsored, basically, to stay in the United States. But as an international student, after that stipulated amount of time that I mentioned on your OPT visa, you are required to find an employer who will be sponsoring your visa, basically. And that's kind of difficult. There are not a lot of companies out there who are ready to sponsor. So here are a few things that worked for me and some things that did not work for me throughout the whole process. So firstly, I would say what did not work for me was networking on LinkedIn, because while attending some seminars in my university as well, I used to hear about networking all the time, about reaching out to recruiters from companies that you want to interview at or you want to work at. I had actually bought a LinkedIn Premium account to reach out to just recruiters and email them. But what I did not realize was that recruiters during the graduation season would also be getting emails and a lot of messages from other people as well. So in the end, it did not really work out for me.
And it could work out for someone else. We're not saying don't do it. It just didn't work out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say what worked for me was preparing for job interviews. So as I mentioned, I used to study for coding tests. So there's a website called LeetCode, where you can practice for your software engineering skills, your coding skills, and there are a lot of questions that get posted regularly on LeetCode as well.
We'll put a link in the description. So Kunal, where did you apply for jobs?
So LinkedIn primarily, Glassdoor, Indeed, and Google also has a way of filtering jobs for you, and I used to apply directly through company websites as well. One thing that I did not try a lot was asking for referrals, because what a referral can do for you is that a referral can get you the interview directly. So if you have a friend working at XYZ company, you can ask that friend for a referral and you will get the opportunity to interview directly with the company. Also, one more thing I would like to add is that, ask for help if you need it. Reach out to people, reach out to your friends or someone in your social network who ask them for help. Let them know that you are looking for a job. Might work out for you. So reward yourself for a good day that you put in. For if you're let's say working hard for an interview, reward yourself at the end of the day, that you put in those hours and you did the hard work that was necessary.
Yeah.
And even if you don't get if you don't get accepted, or if you don't pass through an interview round, don't feel disappointed, and you're not going to get an honest answer from the recruiter as to why you failed that interview. So there could be thousands of reasons for you to not get through that interview. It's not necessarily that your skills were lacking. It's just that they found someone else who better fit the role, basically.
Or it could be something else, like the company didn't want to hire anymore, or the company was not in a position to bring new talent. It could be anything. You don't know. What you hear from them is that, oh, you were not the right fit, unfortunately. That's a very standard answer that most companies give, but the reality is much different, so remember that. So Kunal, now we know what did not work for you. So what is that one thing that worked for you and what ultimately gave you your job?
I would say all the interviews that did not go through also were preparing me for the interview that eventually got me a job. So as I said, don't get disheartened. Every opportunity that you get is an opportunity. So it's building you towards your final goal. And unknowingly or knowingly, I was also learning from all those experiences that I had in the previous months before I finally got a job. I was even more resilient and stubborn and
Motivated.
to find to nail the final interview. And
Kunal did.
Okay, so that was my part of the story. So now I would like to know, Shraddha, how was your experience with graduating in a pandemic?
Yeah, so in fact, after we went through 2019, I felt, I'm very prepared for job hunting because I had learned so much from Kunal. I knew I was ready. But then came 2020 and there was a whole, what happened in 2020, the pandemic started. So I was not prepared for that at all. So I graduated in May 2020, and if you guys remember, in March, New York, New Jersey started with lockdowns and there were like multiple hiring freezes. So that was another ride, maybe different from Kunal's path completely, but it was very difficult to kind of find jobs in that time. So let's go back a bit. So I did my master's from NYU as well, but I did it in integrated marketing, which is a non-STEM course, which means I have only 1 year, like we said before, to find a job. So now that itself is a challenge because most companies don't want to hire people who are just on 1 year OPT, and that's because even if they do your H1B, you have only one attempt on the visa, and if you don't, you basically have to go back, and for them it's like, we just wasted so much time and resource on you, why would I hire you? So that itself is very challenging, and I'm sure people who are from non-STEM OPT could relate to it. But the other bigger challenge was, I think, COVID. Because before COVID, like in Jan and Feb, I was giving interviews, I was applying, and it was going great. I felt like I could probably have a job by May, but then after March and April, it just completely changed because nobody wanted to interview anymore. Because for companies, the hiring wasn't a priority anymore. Unlike other years, it was basically finding how do you work in a remote situation with their current employees, right? So why would you focus on a new employee? Why would you get that extra burden? So nobody was hiring.
Yeah, everyone was really scared with respect to how the economic situation is going to pan out in the coming months of 2020. Eventually, we've all got used to it.
But if you remember when it just started, nobody knew, where this would go, how this would unfold. And for companies, like getting new employees basically is a risk, right?
Yeah.
Without even knowing if the company is going to survive by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So my 90-day period started sometime in June, and until June, July, the situation did not improve. You guys know it's still not that great right now. But so like I kind of wasted like a lot of time that I probably would have used to interview, because companies were just not interviewing anyone. Yeah. So one more thing that I forgot to mention was, like, during my my job hunt period, like the positions I was interviewing for were eventually getting cancelled.
Yeah.
So I had to interview like 2-3 rounds, and then eventually I learned from someone in the company that the position got cancelled, or the company has put like a pause on hiring. Mm-hmm. So that was very frustrating because I was already putting time, and the interviews were like going well, and then later I used to just get ghosted, or the company would never respond. And this happened multiple times. With COVID, people were so scattered that even like HRs and hiring managers did not know how to deal with it, or how do you take interviews remotely. Do you trust international students at this point? Because when COVID started, like the visa situation was also very dicey. Yeah. You didn't know if you could probably work or not. So I think all those factors played in during my job hunt, and it was pretty awful.
So, do you know what worked for you in the end, or what did not work for you?
What did not work for me? I think it's pretty obvious. It was COVID and the whole timing. I think timing was the worst thing in my case, because I graduated in May, and from March to I think September, October situation, the people were like, companies were not hiring, so timing was pretty bad. I remember like my 90-day period was getting over in September 20th or something, and until August 3rd week or 2nd week I did not have any job or any employment. So there was just 1 month left, and at the same time we were like, for me, we were looking at flights and how do you go back. Mm-hmm. And you remember even flight travel was different. So it was pretty taxing that way. We're smiling now, but it was not this entertaining. So one thing which was good in my case was that I was still getting a lot of interviews in spite of COVID, but it was just that like no interview was getting up to the point of completion. I was getting interviews, first round, second round, but in the end they just kind of disappeared or ghosted me.
So we want to elaborate few key things that worked for us during a very stressful time, specifically about mental health, is not to compare your life with others. Some wise man has said that comparison is the thief of happiness. So
That's true. Yeah. Also, don't spend too much time on LinkedIn. Don't keep seeing, what your friends are up to or what your classmate is up to. Don't do that because it's a very bad habit and it'll keep you in that zone, of comparing yourself to them. So don't keep checking LinkedIn again and again. Don't have it on your phone. Just apply for a period of time in the day and then don't look at it because it's not going to do anything for you.
And it's okay to do other things if you're not applying. It's okay to enjoy. It's okay to take a break.
It's okay to even not apply one day. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's not going to make a break.
If you don't apply for a job on a given day that you've decided to take a break on, it's not going to break anything, or it's not going to affect anything.
Yeah, it's okay to take a break and don't take it too seriously. Remember, like US is a great country, of course, to work, but if you don't find a job, it's okay. It's not going to like shatter your life. You can go back and find out something eventually. I know a lot of people have financial constraints and financial expectations, and I can imagine it's stressful for people like that, but it's really not good to let this job stress get to a point that it drives you nuts. So just be positive and ask for help, reach out to people for help,
and don't stop believing in yourself. Keep pushing. Never lose faith in yourself is one thing I would definitely suggest.
And one thing I think we both learned from our experience is that eventually things fall in place.
Eventually,
you will get what you deserve in a good way, of course, and you will always look back on the journey and think, oh, I took too much stress, or I should have relaxed. Maybe I could have done it better. So don't worry, things always fall in place, and only the best for you will happen in the end. So guys, that's it for today's video,
and we'll see you in the next one.
Alright, bye.
Bye.